The arena smelled like roasted ozone, wet leather, and something disturbingly sweet, like flowers left too long in a sealed coffin. It spun lazily in geosynchronous orbit above a gas giant, its surface wreathed in artificial storms that pulsed with every cheer from the crowd. Inside, 10,000 alien voices merged into a sound that was not so much a roar as it was a biological fact, like the tide or gravity. To Mira Ellison, it was just noise. The Galactic Tribute Championships were in full swing. As far as Mira could tell, the games existed for one purpose: to humiliate species too weak to defend themselves. The rules were simple. Every subjugated race sent a champion to fight in the arena. Win, and you earn another century of semi-autonomy. Lose, and you paid tribute: resources, technology, breeding stock, whatever amused the Empire's more decadent administrators. Humans had made it to the final round. That in itself was a joke. Earth's last 3 representatives had died creatively enough to entertain the galactic elite. One was crushed under enhanced gravity, another dissolved in a gas cloud that was technically non-toxic to most participants, and the third simply exploded when his pulse rifle misfired. Now humanity's fate rested in the hands of a woman with no known combat record and no discernible personality. The crowd leaned forward as Mira stepped into the arena. She looked small in her light exosuit, hair tied back in an unceremonious knot, a faint scar running from her right eyebrow to the corner of her mouth. The aliens were expecting a nervous wreck, maybe even tears. Instead, Myra's expression suggested she was debating between taking a nap or burning the entire structure down. "She's tiny," gurgled an amphibian noble from the 9th ring, its translucent stomach pulsing with laughter. "A juvenile?" "A female juvenile," corrected his companion, clicking mandibles in disgust. "No honor in crushing her. This will end in seconds." Mira glanced up at the crowd. She counted 3 drone cameras hovering near her position, 2 avian spectators hanging upside down from a beam, and 1 betting kiosk already flashing odds so insulting they bordered on comedy. Vrak Thundermaw was already waiting in the center of the arena. 12 feet tall, plated in chitin the color of dry blood, he exuded the kind of casual menace only possible in someone who had never been told no in his life. When he moved, his claws left furrows in the alloy floor. "You are human," he rumbled. "I thought they would send me a soldier. Instead, I get this." Myra's lips curved into the ghost of a smile. "Don't worry, you'll still die confused." The crowd laughed, not at her, but at the absurdity. Vrak tilted his massive head, a sound like grinding stone emanating from deep in his throat. "I will enjoy peeling you open." Slowly, Mira shifted her weight onto her back foot. She wasn't holding a weapon. Not yet. That fact seemed to irritate Vrak more than her presence. Up in the VIP box, a gelatinous official in gold-trimmed robes oozed toward a microphone. Its voice, simultaneously wet and shrill, echoed across the arena. "By decree of the Galactic Empire, this contest shall determine the worthiness of Earth to continue as a self-governing entity. If the human is victorious, the planet may retain its resources and autonomy for 1 more standard century. If she falls, then humans pay tribute." Vrak finished for him, his jagged teeth bared in a grin. Myra's heart rate held steady. 62 beats per minute. The sensors in her suit tried to whisper data into her ears. Wind speed, gravity flux, Vrak's estimated mass. But she muted the feed. She already knew what mattered. This wasn't about tribute. Not really. This was about spectacle. The Empire didn't need Earth's resources. They wanted Earth's compliance. They wanted humanity to bow, to bleed, to admit inferiority before the galaxy's assembled predators. She didn't plan on giving them the satisfaction. "Commence the duel," the announcer declared. The floor beneath Mira hummed as energy fields activated. To her left, a section of tiles lit up, signaling a low-gravity zone. To her right, a pit opened briefly, then sealed with a hiss. The arena was designed to test adaptability, which, Mira noted dryly, was Empire speak for unpredictable death traps. Vrak slammed 1 clawed foot down. The impact reverberated through the floor, sending a tremor that knocked several insectoid spectators off their seats. "I will end you in 1 strike, mammal." "That's ambitious," Mira said. Ambitious? I mean, for someone your size. Usually big targets take 2 shots. Vrak's laugh was so loud it made a nearby drone spin out of control. Mira didn't laugh. She was already calculating. The chitin at his knees, thinner than the rest. Neck joint, overlapped but exposed during a lunge. Breathing rhythm, too slow for rapid adjustments. His ego, a bigger weakness than any of the above. She flexed her fingers once. Her pulse rifle would deploy from the suit's back holster in precisely 1.2 seconds. Plenty of time. Above her, the betting screens updated. Vrak, 99.999%. Mira, 0.001%. Someone in the crowd snickered. Someone else called out, "Make it quick," in a language that sounded like a blender choking on gravel. Mira exhaled, slow and deliberate. The timer counted down. 5, 4, 3. Vrak crouched, ready to pounce. 2, 1. Mira whispered to herself, almost inaudibly, "Showtime." The klaxon sounded. Vrak lunged like a collapsing building. The floor cracked under his bulk. The air shifted violently. And Mira moved, not away but toward him. Vrak's bulk hit the floor like a meteor strike, sending out a wave of force that warped the tiles and threw up a haze of powdered alloy. The crowd roared, 1,000 languages tangled into a single sound of hunger and anticipation. This was what they'd come for. The crunch of a weak species being obliterated beneath Turok might. Mira didn't flinch. She had slipped under Vrak's swing by a margin so narrow a passing drone sliced a strand of her hair in two. Her boots found the edge of a low-gravity field, and she used a sudden buoyancy to vault backward, flipping effortlessly as Vrak's claw raked through empty space where her skull had been. "Fast little pest," Vrak growled, his 6 eyes glinting. He straightened his full height, and the arena lighting caught on the curve of his armor plates. Each one was scored with deep grooves, a record of past kills. Some were filled with gold, others with something darker. The announcers were salivating, their voices overlapping in a cascade of commentary. She dodges, but for how long? The human's biology limits her reaction time. She cannot evade forever. Indeed, the Turok are bred for slaughter. Observe his stance. Observe the claws. Vrak crouched again, testing her. She watched his weight shift across 4 legs, the way his tail lashed with suppressed aggression. His breathing was steady, too steady for his size. He wasn't just muscle. There was calculation there, primitive but real. And yet, she noted, his claws were already smeared with his own saliva. He was drooling, overconfident, hungry. A red warning blinked across the bottom of Myra's vision. Pulse rifle auto-deploy? She ignored it. The rifle could wait. Her pistol would have to do for now. Vrak charged, faster this time. A blur of mass and chitin. He swung one claw-leg aside and followed it with a whip of his tail. Mira ducked the first strike, but the tail caught her in the ribs. Pain bloomed sharp and hot, and she felt something crack. The crowd howled as she tumbled across the floor. Her body skidded to a stop against a raised platform. Mira lay still for half a second, assessing. No breach in the suit. One rib fractured. Nothing fatal. Yet, she pushed to her feet. Vrak laughed, the sound deep and wet. "I felt something break, little mammal. Do you hear that? Your body betrays you." Mira straightened slowly. "I hear something." She tilted her head, eyes locked on him. It sounded like overconfidence. Vrak stomped closer, each footstep leaving spiderweb cracks in the arena floor. He extended a claw and traced a line through the air. "I will peel you apart. Slowly. First your limbs, then your skin, then—" "Do you always narrate your meals?" Mira asked lightly. She lifted her pistol and fired a single shot, not at Vrak, but at a support strut overhead. A shower of sparks fell between them, forcing Vrak to halt his advance. The crowd booed. A trio of insectoid nobles chittered from their balcony. Primitive. She has no strategy. Or perhaps she buys time, murmured a serpentine advisor beside them. Below, Mira took 2 quick steps sideways, sliding into a shadowed section of the arena. Her boots hissed against the metal, and she felt the shift in gravity as she crossed an unseen threshold. Perfect. Vrak growled and followed, his massive frame distorting the low-gravity zone's field as he moved. He swung again, claws flashing. Mira darted backward, letting him overcommit, and planted a boot on the wall. She kicked off of the twist, spinning over his head. The audience gasped as her pistol cracked twice. Pop, pop, and sent 2 projectiles into Vrak's upper shoulder plate. Both shots sparked and bounced away harmlessly. Vrak barked a laugh. Your weapons tickle me, insect. They're not meant for you. What? But Mira was already moving, up in the control booth. The officiators argued over probability models. The humans' odds have risen from 0.001% to 0.2%. That cannot be right. Recalibrate. Recalculated. She persists. Tarak victory remains inevitable, but she is making him sweat. Vrak growled again, shaking his massive head. The moisture gathering under his armor evaporated in the arena's heat. For the first time, he shifted uneasily. You are nimble, little thing. Nimble prey can amuse me for a time. His tail lashed against the floor, denting the alloy tiles. But you cannot evade forever. Who said I was evading? Mira murmured, before Vrak could react. Her pulse rifle deployed from the suit's holster with a sharp click. She caught it midair, dropping to one knee as the weapon scope flared to life. Vrak's eyes narrowed. He lunged, and Mira fired, not at Vrak, but at the floor. The round punched into a panel Mira had noted earlier, one control nodes regulating the arena's magnetic fields. Sparks erupted. A hum of energy flared, and then reversed polarity. Suddenly, the gravity in Vrak's section increased tenfold. His massive frame slammed down hard enough to crack the platform beneath him. The crowd roared. The announcer screamed. She alters the environment. Illegal? Not illegal. Ingenious. Vrak strained, his claws gouging deep furrows into the floor as he fought against the crushing weight. His breathing turned ragged. Mira rose smoothly to her feet, rifle aimed squarely at the exposed seam in his neck armor. Her voice was soft but carried across the arena. Big mistake, Vrak. His upper lip curled. What mistake? You thought this was a fight. And it is not. No, she said. It's an equation, and you're the wrong variable. Vrak roared in fury, tried to lift his head, but his movement was sluggish now, almost pitiful. Mira adjusted her scope. The crowd held its collective breath, and Myra's finger began to tighten on the trigger. The trigger resisted under her finger, a measured tension calibrated for precision. Mira exhaled, and in the space between breaths, the entire arena seemed to contract into silence. Vrak's body strained against the artificially increased gravity, muscles trembling under his own weight. Each movement he made sent tremors through the cracked floor, but he wasn't lunging now. He was pinned, and he knew it. You can't hold me, Vrak snarled, his voice vibrating with exertion. His 6 eyes flicked wildly, searching for a way to twist free, for some advantage to reclaim his dominance. This is a trick. You cheat. You're still moving, Mira said, voice level. So not enough of one. Her scope tracked his subtle shifts, the torque of his shoulders, the twitch in his right forelimb, the way his tail coiled, ready to whip. Even crushed beneath augmented gravity, Vrak wasn't defeated. Not yet. He was adapting. That was the dangerous part. Not his size or strength, but his refusal to die as easily as expected. Mira didn't take the shot. Not yet. The crowd, which had been momentarily stunned into silence, erupted in conflicting sounds. Hisses, shrieks, laughter, and a rising chant in some wet, glottal language that vibrated the arena's walls. Spectators leaned forward, scales glinting under the lights, their feeding tubes forgotten as their eyes fixed on a fragile human holding her rifle steady against the galaxy's apex predator. She delays, murmured one announcer, a voice like oil sliding down glass. She calculates, replied the other, with a hiss of reluctant admiration. Vrak twisted suddenly, his claws digging into the alloy, anchoring him. Mira adjusted with him, her barrel never leaving the tiny seam beneath his jaw where plates of armor met sinew. One wrong move and she'd lose her shot, But rushing it meant she'd miss entirely. "You are prey," Vrak growled, spitting flecks of saliva. A clever prey, but prey nonetheless. "You're talking too much," Mira said softly. "Compensating for something?" Vrak roared, forcing his limbs to push against the crushing field. Metal groaned beneath his feet as he dragged himself an inch higher. Another. His forelimb claws shot out suddenly, and the force of his strike sheared through the gravity-dense air like a blade. Mira fired. The first shot ricocheted harmlessly off Vrak's chitinous plating as he jerked sideways. The audience erupted, some in triumph, some in disappointment. Mira rolled into a crouch as Vrak's tail smashed the platform where she'd been standing, sending fragments of alloy spraying like shrapnel. One shard grazed her cheek, drawing a thin line of blood that traced down to her jaw. Vrak laughed, his voice guttural and triumphant. "Missed. Now you die slow, mammal." But Mira wasn't listening to him. Her suit's neural interface fed her a flood of sensory data. Environmental shifts, airflow patterns, microfractures in the arena's structure. She let all wash over her without distraction. Her fingers moved over her rifle's controls, adjusting power settings. The shot she needed wasn't about force. It was about precision. "Come on, then," she murmured. Vrak lunged again, and this time Mira didn't evade. She stepped into the low-gravity field as his claw arced toward her, the air screaming with displacement. Time stretched thin, seconds unfolding like glass shattering in slow motion. Mira dropped to one knee and fired. The pulse round punched through the narrow gap at the base of Vrak's neck plating and detonated inside the soft tissue behind it. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Vrak's roar cut off mid-breath. The Turok champion froze, his massive frame trembling violently as a thin line of smoke curled from his gaping maw. His eyes bulged. His limbs twitched once, twice, then went slack. The audience gasped, and the sound was an almost tangible wave of disbelief that rolled across the arena. Vrak toppled forward, his body hit the floor with a colossal crash, sending out a shockwave of sound and dust. The force of it staggered some of the nearest spectators. Silence. A perfect, absolute silence. Mira stood slowly. Her rifle hung loose at her side, her breathing calm and controlled despite the faint tremor running through her injured ribs. Blood trickled from her cheek, drying in the artificial heat. She glanced at the cameras, meeting the mechanical eyes that broadcast her image to half the galaxy. "Humans pay no tribute," she said quietly. "Idiots." Her voice carried over the stunned arena. Then the first scream erupted, high-pitched in panic from a gelatinous noble in the front row. Others followed, the chaos spreading like wildfire. In the control booth, administrators barked contradictory orders as data feeds blared. Error. Turok champion status. Deceased. Error. Human victory probability recalculated 100%. Mira ignored the rising din. She turned her back on Vrak's smoking corpse and started walking toward the docking bay exit. Her boots left faint, bloody prints on the alloy floor, but she didn't look back. In the stands, a tiny faction of lesser species spectators began cheering. It was hesitant at first, then louder, as others joined in, tentative, fearful, but growing bolder by the second. The Galactic Empire had just witnessed the impossible, and Mira didn't care. She only wanted to go home. The council chamber stank of fear. It wasn't just the ammonia-rich atmosphere of the Jovian diplomats or the phenomenal clouds drifting from the insectoid advisors. It was a raw, cloying stench of panic that clung to every species present. Holograms flickered overhead, replaying the human sniper's impossible victory on a loop. Frame by frame, they watched Vrak Thundermaw's death. The recoil of her rifle, the detonation in his neck, and his body collapsing like a toppling obelisk. "She cheated," hissed the scale minister, his tongue flicking nervously. "The human altered arena systems mid-combat. That violates." "Nothing," barked the crustacean admiral, slamming a clawed limb on the table hard enough to crack it. The rules stated combatants may utilize environmental factors at their discretion. It was legal. She outplayed Vrak. Vrak was a Turok colossus, gurgled a voice from within a gelatinous host. If humans can topple him, what else are they capable of? The room fell silent. An avian delegate ruffled his feathers anxiously, talons clicking against polished alloy. We cannot allow this. If word spreads that a primitive species overcame our strongest champion, we will have an uprising on every fringe world. The lesser races will see her as a symbol. They already do, muttered the insectoid advisor, mandibles twitching. Reports of human banners rising on penal colonies in 3 sectors. Their message is spreading faster than we can suppress it. On the far side of the chamber, the Empire's Supreme Chancellor, a creature of ambiguous biology and entirely too many eyes, sat in stillness. The solution is obvious. We crush them before their insolence spreads. Deploy fleets. Reduce Earth to ash. A murmur of approval rippled to the council until a thin, serpentine diplomat spoke, her voice cutting to the noise like a blade. And if we fail? The murmuring stopped. The serpent uncoiled slightly, her scales catching the chamber's harsh light. One human sniper dismantled a Turok warrior. One. What if there are others like her? Are we prepared to risk war against a species capable of that level of precision? She's an outlier, the Chancellor hissed. Perhaps. Or perhaps we misjudge them. Her golden eyes narrowed. Perhaps the humans aren't as soft as they appear. Silence swallowed the room again. Meanwhile, Mira Ellison was staring at her own reflection in the dark glass of a transport pod. Her face was smudged with blood and soot, the faint cut on her cheek already sealed by the suit's med gel. Behind her, the arena was still visible, a massive, hollow coliseum now eerily quiet, the body of Rack Thundermaw still sprawled where it had fallen. She touched her rifle, feeling the subtle warmth where the barrel had cooled. "You're going to make me famous," she murmured to it. The rifle didn't respond. The transport pod vibrated as it detached from the arena's docking bay and fell into a slow glide toward a human embassy ship waiting in orbit. The pilot, a nervous young lieutenant from the Terran Defense Corps, glanced back at her. His voice cracked slightly when he spoke. "Ma'am, the whole galaxy's watching now. They're calling you the Turok Slayer." Mira didn't look up. "I didn't kill Vrak for a nickname." "Then why?" She didn't answer immediately. Her fingers drummed lightly on her knee, her expression distant. "Because they told us to kneel," she said finally, "and I don't kneel." In the embassy ship's war room, Terran officials erupted in cheers when the pod's hatch hissed open and Mira stepped out. A dozen hands shot forward to shake hers, and holographic feeds displayed endless headlines from galactic networks. "Human victory stuns Empire." "Vrak dead, who's next?" "Primitive species defies tribute demand." Mira ignored the celebration. Her boots carried her across the room, the sound of each step loud against the polished floor. "Ellison," barked a gray-haired general, "do you understand what you've done? You just bought Earth another century of freedom." "Good for Earth," Mira said flatly. The general stiffened. "You're a hero now. Billions are chanting your name." Myra's eyes flicked toward him, sharp and unamused. "Then they're idiots, too." The room felt awkwardly quiet. Mira left without another word, striding down the corridor toward her quarters. She didn't want a medal or a parade. She wanted a shower, a stiff drink, and maybe an hour of sleep before the galaxy tried killing her again. On the embassy ship's outer hull, the Empire's cameras captured her departure and broadcast it live to hundreds of worlds. Myra's silhouette, rifle slung casually over one shoulder, was replayed again and again, and across the galaxy, from fringe colonies to core worlds, suppressed species watched her walk away and felt something they hadn't dared to feel in generations. Hope. In the Empire's highest council chambers, panic mounted. "If we do not retaliate," hissed the Supreme Chancellor, "we invite rebellion. And if we do retaliate," countered the serpent diplomat, "we may awaken something worse." The hologram of Mira in her blood-stained suit flickered on a central display. Her voice played over the speakers again, soft and calm. "Humans pay no tribute. Idiots." The Chancellor's many eyes blinked in unison. "Perhaps," he said coldly, "we have underestimated the mammals." The serpent diplomat's forked tongue flickered in quiet amusement. "Perhaps," she murmured. And far from the council chambers, in the quiet hum of her quarters, Mira lay on a narrow bunk staring at the ceiling. Her rifle rested on the floor beside her. She wasn't thinking of galactic politics or rebellion or even Earth's future. She was thinking about the single perfect moment when everything had gone still, the breath before the shot, the click of the trigger, the silence that followed. She closed her eyes. If they came for her again, and they would, she would be ready. She always was.